When Derek and I moved into our brand new house, I honestly thought this was it. The fresh start. Clean walls, no upstairs neighbors, sunlight on the breakfast table. For years, I'd been working out of a cramped apartment with a fold-out desk in the corner of the bedroom, juggling UX deadlines and dishes. Now I finally had a real office, a guest room, a kitchen island with room to breathe. Derek was proud. He should have been. The house was his project from the ground up. His construction firm built it, and he obsessed over every brick and beam like it was a cathedral. For him, it was proof he could provide. For me, it was supposed to be our sanctuary. The first time his parents visited, it was fine. His dad made some stiff comment about the quartz counters being flashy, and his mom critiqued my lighting choices like she was on HGTV, but I let it slide. I figured they'd swing by once in a while, admire the progress, and move on. But then it became every Sunday. Oh, we were just in the area. It's easier if we eat here, less cleanup for us. We brought pie. It was store-bought and still frozen. The worst part? They never asked. They just walked in, sat down, took over. Glenn would blast sports on the living room TV like it was a sports bar. Sandra would perch on a stool in the kitchen and comment on how I seasoned the chicken. "You don't use garlic powder?" she asked, blinking at me like I'd said I don't use soap. I'd laugh politely and say I liked fresh garlic. She'd tilt her head like that was suspicious. Derek would just smile, kiss her cheek, and tell her she looked great. He never once stepped in to mediate or even acknowledge that I was cooking for 5 instead of 2, while also hosting, cleaning, and trying to stay awake for Monday meetings. The guest room that I'd hoped to use as a yoga space was slowly morphing into their nap station. "Your couch hurts Glenn's back," Sandra explained after their third Sunday nap. "The guest bed is better for his posture." I swallowed it. I mean, what was I going to say? Stop visiting your son? It felt petty. Still, something was growing in my chest, a tight, quiet frustration. I began to dread the sound of tires in the driveway. One night after they left, I told Derek gently, maybe next weekend we could have a quiet one. Just us. He looked up from his phone, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I don't know. It's been nonstop. I'd love a Sunday without commentary on my mashed potatoes." He laughed. "They mean well, Kimberly. Come on, you're overthinking it." I was always overthinking it. That was my role, the considerate one. So, I tried a different angle the following week while we were making dinner. I was slicing bell peppers, and I said it like it was no big deal. "Hey, I was thinking, maybe my parents could come stay one night next month. Just a weekend visit. They haven't seen the house yet." He froze for half a second. "Your parents? Overnight? Just one night? Maybe we could cook something together. It'd be low-key." He made a face like I'd just suggested a tax audit. "Kim, no offense, but your dad makes me feel like I'm at a job interview. And your mom, she doesn't... I don't know. I'd have to be on." I blinked. "Be on?" "Yeah, like, polite, you know. Watching what I say, making conversation." I dropped the knife a little too hard on the cutting board. "You mean, be a decent human being?" "Don't twist it. I'm just saying, I can't relax around them. They're not as easygoing as my parents." That was the moment I realized, in his mind, my comfort came second. Or maybe it didn't register at all. "You do realize," I said, "that I've been hosting your parents every week, cooking for them, cleaning up after them, listening to your mom lecture me about proper towel folding. And you think you're the one who has to be on for one night?" He didn't answer. He just shrugged and went back to stirring the pot. Later that week, I came home from running errands and found 2 large rolling suitcases by the front door. Sandra appeared in the hallway with a cheery smile. "Hope you don't mind. We thought we'd stay a few nights. Glenn's back is acting up again, and it's just easier not to drive back and forth." I stood there, keys still in hand. "A few nights?" "Just until Wednesday. Derek said it was totally fine." When I found Derek in the kitchen, he acted like nothing was wrong. "It's just a couple days. You know how they are. And besides, it's not a big deal." Not a big deal. My heart was thudding in my chest. I went upstairs to the guest room. The bed was already unmade. Sandra's silk robe was draped over the chair. Glenn's slippers sat by the door like he'd lived here for years. I stood there, looking around the room that used to be mine in some small symbolic way. The space where I'd hung eucalyptus bundles and lit candles and thought maybe I'd get into journaling again. Now it smelled like menthol cream and cheap aftershave. At dinner that night, Sandra asked if I'd mind switching up the laundry detergent. "The lavender one you use makes Glenn's skin itch." Glenn added, "And the water pressure in the upstairs shower is a bit rough. Any way to fix that?" I smiled thinly. "Sure, I'll add it to my list." Then I looked across the table at Derek, who was eating like nothing had changed. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan. Their footsteps echoed down the hallway. My head buzzed. My muscles ached from holding in every reaction I wasn't allowed to have. Derek snored softly beside me. And somewhere between midnight and 2 a.m., I realized I had two choices. Keep playing the good wife, the flexible hostess, the doormat in designer sweatpants. Or quietly remove myself and let the house play host to the people who loved it so much. I turned over, pulled my phone from the nightstand, and texted one person. Just one. Vanessa. "Hey, you still have that guest room?" The reply came instantly. "Always." I didn't know what the plan was yet, but something had shifted. I wasn't angry, not yet, but I was done. And the funny thing was, Derek hadn't noticed a thing. The next morning, I made Derek's coffee the way he liked it, extra hot, splash of oat milk, and left it on the counter without a word. He didn't notice I hadn't made one for myself. Sandra was already in the kitchen, wearing my robe. "Kimberly, do you have any chamomile tea that isn't so flowery? My stomach's a bit off." I opened a cabinet, pulled out what she wanted, and handed it to her without a smile. Glenn shuffled in a few minutes later, yawning loudly, and turned on the TV. Volume 39. I'd never felt like a stranger in my own home before. But now, my movements were quieter, smaller. Like I was the one visiting, hoping not to disturb. By Tuesday night, Derek casually mentioned they'd stay through the weekend. "Just easier, since they're already here. No point in making them pack up twice." I blinked at him from across the bathroom sink. "They've been here 5 days. It's temporary, is it?" He avoided my eyes. That night, I had to finish a UX redesign pitch from the upstairs office, which was now filled with Sandra's craft supplies and Glenn's spare golf clubs. I worked cross-legged from the corner of the bed while Sandra folded laundry next to me. My files were scattered on the floor. At one point, Glenn opened the door without knocking to ask where the HDMI cable was. I didn't look up. "Try the drawer in the TV stand." After he left, Sandra asked, "Do you always work this late?" I nodded, jaw tight. "It's quieter at night." "You should really think about boundaries," she said, fluffing a towel. "Work-life balance matters." That's when I nearly laughed. The next day, while Derek and his parents went out to a late brunch, without inviting me, I called Vanessa. "You sound like someone who's 5 seconds from torching a throw pillow," she said. "I'm close. Come stay here." "It's not that simple." Vanessa hesitated, then lowered her voice, as if someone might overhear her through the phone. "Okay, then make it complicated. Be strategic. You know that's your thing." "Strategic how?" She laid out a plan. It was absurd and perfect. That night, I told Derek that my aunt in Portland had slipped and broken her wrist, that she had no one nearby, that I needed to go help for a few days. He barely looked up from his phone. "Are you driving or flying?" "Driving. It's faster." He shrugged. "Drive safe." Sandra and Glenn were more interested in whether I'd pre-made any meals before leaving. "We don't want to mess up your kitchen system," Sandra said with a wink. I packed one small bag. No suitcases. No dramatics. Before I left, I placed a single envelope on my nightstand. Inside was a short handwritten note. "I'll be gone for a while. If you need space, now you have it. Kimberly." I didn't feel guilty. Vanessa met me at her door with a bottle of wine and a look that said, "Finally." Her apartment wasn't big, but it was warm and quiet. I set up my laptop on her guest table, lit a candle, and exhaled for the first time in weeks. Back at the house, the silence confused Derek. He called me the next morning. I let it go to voicemail. Then I texted, "I missed the last train home. I'll stay another day." Then another. Then another. On the 5th day, a moving truck pulled into our driveway. Sandra saw it first through the living room window. "Oh, they must be delivering something for Kimberly." Two movers stepped out and began hauling boxes labeled Langford and Master Bedroom. Sandra opened the front door, confused. "Excuse me, what is this?" One of the movers handed her a clipboard. "Sunrise relocation, ma'am. We have a work order to move in furniture. Address matches. You're the Langfords?" Glenn stepped in. "Yes, that's us." The movers nodded and started bringing in furniture, a full-size mattress, dressers, a recliner chair, boxes of cookware. Glenn blinked. This must be a mistake. The mover pointed at the manifest. "Says here, delivery is for Glenn and Sandra. New residence, 912 Silver Hill Lane." Sandra's mouth opened, then closed. By the time Derek came home, the guest room had been rearranged, the closets filled with their clothing, and the label on the mailbox had a small sticker underneath our names. And parents. He walked in, dropped his keys, and said, "What the hell is going on?" Sandra looked delighted. "Isn't this great? Kimberly said we could have this space while she's away. We figured, since you're on your own for now," Glenn added. "She even arranged the movers. Thoughtful, huh?" Derek stared at the envelope on the nightstand. Same one I'd left. He opened it again like it might have changed. It hadn't. He tried calling me. Again. No answer. He sent a message. "Kimberly, come on. We need to talk." I replied 3 hours later. "Can't talk. You're busy hosting. Hope it's going well." At Vanessa's, I made dinner in peace. I watched a movie on the couch. I slept until 9 without being woken up by a toilet flush down the hall. The first week without me, Derek tried to hold it together. He texted, "I got it under control. You'll see." 2 days later, he sent a photo of a half-cooked lasagna with a comment, "Chef Derek in action." But by the second week, the messages changed. "Do you know where the vacuum bags are? The washer smells weird. Is that normal? Your mom's roast chicken recipe. Where is it?" I didn't respond. Vanessa saw me reading the messages and said, "It's amazing how fast, it's not a big deal, turns into, 'Help me, I'm drowning.'" Meanwhile, Sandra was calling me every other day. I finally picked up once. "Kimberly, sweetheart, are you planning to come back anytime soon?" "Why? You've got the whole house." "Well, it's just, Glenn and I were under the impression this was temporary." "So was I." She paused. "Derek seems stressed. He misses you." I didn't answer. What I didn't say was that Derek was finally experiencing everything I had for months. The noise, the demands, the lack of privacy, the endless questions. He texted again 3 days later. "I'm sorry. This is hard. I didn't realize how much you were juggling." But then added, "Still, they're my parents. I can't kick them out." That line said everything. So I made a decision. I emailed him a digital copy of a separation agreement, drafted with the help of a lawyer friend Vanessa knew. Not divorce, not yet, but a clean line in the sand. The house? I had put down most of the down payment. The mortgage was in both our names, but the land title was under mine. Derek had insisted I didn't need to be on everything, that it was all ours anyway. Now that worked in my favor. He called the next morning, panicked. "Kimberly, what is this? A boundary. In writing. You're really doing this? Over a couple of weekends?" "It's never just a couple weekends, and you know it." He didn't say anything for a long time. Then, "I can't afford this place on my own." "I know." He let out a shaky breath. "Are you asking me to move out?" "No, I'm just saying. If they're staying, I'm not." He tried for 2 more weeks. Tried to get his mom to cook. She refused. Asked his dad to help fix the broken dishwasher. He ignored it. Sandra didn't do laundry, claiming she didn't want to touch Kimberly's things. Glenn piled takeout containers in the sink and left them there. Derek started eating out. First fast food, then microwave dinners. He stopped opening my messages. Then came the final straw. He overdrew the joint account. Again. I froze the card. When he called in a fury, I picked up calmly. "You're not entitled to funds I'm not using. We're separated." "You froze the account?" I moved my direct deposit. "You should do the same." He cursed under his breath. Then he said it. The thing I knew was coming. "Maybe we should sell the house." "That's up to you," I said. "But if you do, I get first right of refusal. It's in the paperwork." "So what? You want it back now?" "No, I just want the option. You've already filled it with your chosen residence." He hung up. A week later, I got a notification that the house was listed online. I clicked the link. Photos showed the living room cluttered with mismatched chairs, old magazines, Glenn's foot massager. The once pristine kitchen had sticky notes taped to every drawer labeled, "Do not touch." In one shot, you could see a pile of laundry on the guest bed. It was heartbreaking and hilarious. Vanessa leaned over my shoulder. "That looks like a Craigslist bachelor flat with a parental chaperone." And to think, I used to light candles in that bathroom. Eventually, he sold it below market value. The real estate agent's comment said, "Motivated seller, flexible timeline, minor repairs needed." I didn't buy it back. I didn't need to. I'd already found a new place. A small rental townhouse. Nothing fancy. But it had a balcony, a deep tub, and no one walking in uninvited. I worked. I slept. I saw my parents. I hosted brunches with friends. I didn't fold anyone else's laundry but my own. One morning, months later, I bumped into a mutual friend of Derek's at a cafe. She didn't recognize me at first, said I looked glowier. I asked, "How's Derek?" She gave a small shrug. "Living with his parents for now. It's a lot." I nodded. It always was. Back at Vanessa's, we toasted to peace. She looked at me and said, "Do you regret anything?" I thought for a moment. "I regret not leaving sooner." She smiled. "You want me to help you draft the divorce filing?" "Already done." We clinked glasses. The house was gone. The weight was gone. I hadn't just left a building, I'd walked out of a pattern. And when Sandra called me months later and left a message, "Could we meet for coffee? Just talk?" I deleted it without listening to the rest. Sometimes peace looks like absence. Sometimes it sounds like silence. And sometimes it feels like waking up alone, in your own home, and breathing. Really breathing.